All right, so today we're going to do multi-step solving, and it's going to use everything we've been learning for the past 3 weeks, putting it all together. So all those little pieces and parts are going to start to fit together. So I've kind of broken this into types of solving equations, and I'm going to try to model each of the ones you're going to run into on the homework. So we're going to start with ones that require you to combine what we call like terms. And an example of that would be 5x minus 7x minus 9 equals 25. Okay. So combining like terms actually fits in to the very first step of the solving process, which is to simplify. So if you are combining like terms, you are simplifying, and generally simplifying is stuff that you do on the same side. So something you do on the left and then maybe something else you do on the right. It's not moving things back and forth. So the two terms that need to be simplified are the 5x and the 7x. Like terms means matching letters. So we're going to put those together. 5x minus 7x is negative 2x. Now we know we're done with simplifying because I can't put an x term and a number term together, so those have to stay separate. And then of course the 25, there's nothing to do. So now we're ready for the second step in the solving process, which is to add or subtract x's left. Well, my negative 2x is already on the left, so we're good there. The second half of that is to add or subtract numbers to the right. So we're adding and subtracting numbers to the right. So the number term that's not on the right-hand side is the negative 9, and we need to move that using its opposite. The opposite of negative 9 is positive 9, so we're going to add 9 to the left, which means we add 9 to the right. Really important in solving is you're always doing the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. So 9 minus 9 goes to 0. That's what happens when you add opposites. And then negative 2x is alone, and 25 plus 9 is 34. The x's are left, the number terms are right. So now we're ready for the step that we learned on Friday, which is to multiply by the reciprocal. And we want a 1x equals your answer. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So put both terms over their invisible ones. And I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of negative 2 over 1, which is 1 over negative 2. Of course, if you do that on the left, you have to multiply by 1 over negative 2 on the right so that you keep it equal. As usual, when you multiply a number by its reciprocal, everything divides to 1. I now have my 1x. And then this one's pretty easy. 34 divided by 2 is 17. And a positive times a negative is a negative. And we have our answer. So that's basically the same process we've been following. It's just we're putting the steps together now. We're simplifying first, adding and subtracting second, multiply by reciprocal third. So we're pulling those three things together. Okay, Roman numeral 2. I only put this one second because it fit in the space on the paper, okay? So Roman numeral 2 is dealing with fractions. You will get a couple of these, not a lot. And I'm going to start to show you the process called clearing fractions. If you do this right, it makes your problem a whole heck of a lot shorter and easier to deal with. Okay, so here's our example, and put some spaces in between these. So kind of spread them out. 1/2 x plus 1/3 minus 5 equals x plus 7. Okay, so in order for me to show you how to clear fractions, the technique I'm going to show you, you can have no parentheses. That's really important. If you have parentheses, you need to distribute or multiply and get rid of them, or this won't actually work. All right, so clearing fractions, first thing you need to do is get all the bottoms the same. So put your whole numbers over their invisible ones. And then we want to think of the smallest number that a 2 and a 3 will go into, which is 6, right? So I want all the bottoms to be 6s. Okay, so for the first fraction, I have a 2. If I multiply by 3, it'll give me a 6. Now, if you multiply the bottom, you have to multiply the top by the same thing. Why? Because 3 over 3 equals what?
1.
1. Yeah, and so you're not changing the value of the 1/2, you're just making it look different. Okay, over here, I need this 3 to be a 6, so I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2. Now for the -5, it only has a 1 under there. I need a 6, so I'm going to multiply by 6 over 6. Same thing with the x term. There's nothing down there, so I'm going to multiply by 6 over 6 to get a 6 down there. And same thing with the 7. I'm going to multiply by 6 over 6. Now, the disadvantage of clearing fractions is sometimes your numbers get bigger. But most of you would rather do bigger whole numbers than fractions, so it works out. Okay, what have we got? I have 3x over 6 plus 2 over 6 minus 30 over 6 equals 6x over 6 plus 42 over 6. And like I told you, some of the numbers do get slightly larger when you do this.
Slightly.
All right, here is the winning move. The winning move to get rid of the fractions is now that they all have 6s on the bottom, I can multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1 over 6 is 6 over 1. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 6 over 1. So what happens? Well, when you multiply something by its reciprocal, it cancels out to 1. So 6 and 6, 6 and the next 6, 6 and the next 6. Because remember, distribution property, it's actually being multiplied by all 3 of them. Same thing here, distribution property, 6 and a 6, 6 and a 6. All the bottoms are gone. What do we got left? I have 3x plus 2 minus 30 equals 6x plus 42. And look at that.
It's not as bad anymore.
This is a nicer problem. So now we're going to actually start our solving steps. This was just simplifying. So I can see that I can add like terms. I can put the 2 and the 30 together. So that gives me 3x minus 28 equals 6x plus 42. We are simplified. So we're going to add or subtract x's left. So the 6x needs to move, use its opposite. We're going to subtract 6x. And then underneath the 3x, we're going to subtract 6x. So 3 minus 6 is negative 3x. Bring down the negative 28, bring down the 42. And I'm going to scooch it over just a little bit. Okay, my x's are left. Now I want to add or subtract to get numbers right. So the negative 28 needs to move. Use its opposite. The opposite of negative 28 is positive 28. So we're going to add 28 to both sides. 28 minus 28 is 0. So now I have negative 3x equals 70. My x's are left. My numbers are right. I'm ready for step 3. Multiply by the reciprocal. So put these over their invisible ones. The reciprocal of negative 3 over 1 is 1 over negative 3. I'm going to multiply both sides by that reciprocal. The negative 3's divide out. And 70 is not divisible by 3. So I'm going to have 70 over 3. And of course, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Put it on the top with the 70. We have our answer. So once you clear the fractions, then it's a pretty easy problem. I encourage you to try clearing the, now, I had a student, she didn't like clearing fractions. It didn't make sense to her. So she was like, I'll just leave the fractions in. So she did, and she did great. You know, she got really good at solving with fractions. But most of you, I think, would like clearing them. So I'm giving you this. This won't be the last time we talk about it. All right, flip the page if you're out of room like I am. Roman numeral 3. Problems with distribution property. So for example, 4x minus 3, and then in parentheses, x minus 2 equals 21. Okay, distribution property gets rid of parentheses, and getting rid of parentheses is simplifying. So you have to do distribution first because it's part of that step 1 simplify. So I'm going to take the negative 3 and I'm going to distribute it through the parentheses. All right, so put the 4x out front. And then I'm going to show you the work. Negative 3 times x, leave a space, negative 3 times negative 2. All right, whatever sign you get off of these two goes in between. Whatever sign you get off these two goes in between. So recopy your 4x. A negative times a positive is a negative. The negative goes there. 3 times x is 3x. Now do the second set. Negative times a negative is a positive. That goes in the middle. 3 times 2 is 6. And just bring your 21 down. So that is distribution property, one that you've already practiced. Okay, so now that you've used distribution property, most of the time there's going to be something to add together. In this case, adding like terms, yes. 4x minus 3x is 1x. Just a 1x. You can put the 1 in if you like it. All right, we've simplified. Now ready for add or subtract. X is left. We're good. Number's right. That 6 needs to move. The opposite of a positive 6 is a negative 6. So we get x equals 15. Okay, there's going to be a couple questions, not a lot of them, where they want you to check your solution. So we're going to review how to check a solution. We've already done this when we did evaluating. That's what you do when you check a solution. So over here, write checking solutions. Okay, so the process for checking your solution is you substitute in, and I'm going to call it your possible solution. Just like you did when we did evaluating, you substituted in the number. So that's the same. And then simplify. And again, you've done this order of operations, just simplify. And then here are your two possibilities. If the left equals the right, you have a solution. If the left does not equal the right, it is not a solution. The solution that doesn't work is called an extraneous solution. If that was the only solution you had and it didn't work and there are no other solutions, then you have what's called a no solution equation. That's if you don't have any others. Much of what we will be learning will be multiple solutions. Nope, just no solution. All right, so let's check our solution. We're going to check this one. And our solution that we think might be the solution is x equals 15. So here we go. We're going to substitute it in. So 4 times 15 minus 3 times 15 minus 2, and big question mark, does that equal 21? Now, when we're checking instead of solving, it's kind of a nice visual if you put double lines, because when you drive, what do double yellow lines mean?
No passing?
Do not pass. When you are checking solutions, you are not going to move terms left or right. You are just going to simplify straight down with no interaction of the left and the right sides. They stay completely separate like double yellow lines. Okay, order of operations says inside grouping symbols first. 15 minus 2 is 13. So we've done that. Okay, now exponents, so there aren't any. Now multiply or divide left to right. So 4 times 15 is 60. Continuing to the right, negative 3 times 13 is negative 39. We're done multiplying. Last, you add or subtract. 60 minus 39 is 21. If I bring down the right-hand side, the left equals the right, which means my solution is good. That's checking. Most of what we're going to be doing, I'm going to give you an answer bank, so you will not need to check unless it specifies check, which the very first 3 problems, they give you an answer and they want you to actually check it. All right, any questions?